When you're ready, go ahead.
Great. Good evening, everyone. It is 7 p.m. This is a meeting of the Concord School Board, and we have been recessed, and we are now reconvening the meeting. This is an emergency meeting in accordance with Governor's Emergency Order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04. We're meeting electronically due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The business that we're conducting today is necessary due to the need to continue moving forward with urgent business of the district, including the superintendent search and planning for Concord High School graduation. We will be taking public comment during this meeting by unmuting phone lines one by one during the public comment period. It would be helpful if anyone who wishes to comment could indicate their name in the comment function of Microsoft Teams so that we may call on you more easily. And in accordance with policy number 136, public comments are limited to no more than 5 minutes per person. We also encourage the submission of comments via email at concordinfo@sau8.org. There is no physical location for observing this meeting. However, we're providing access through Microsoft Teams, through telephone, and also through this simultaneous broadcast on CCTV's education channel, Comcast Channel 6, or youtube.com, Concord NHTV. If members of the public are having difficulty accessing this meeting, they should call 603-513-9008. If they would like to dial into the Microsoft Teams meeting, they should call 925-391-1169 with a conference ID of 763-078-446#. And if the public is unable to access the meeting and we are unable to remedy the situation, we will adjourn. I will quickly do a roll call of members who are participating. All members will be participating remotely. Any votes that are taken will be via roll call vote. Whenever each member states their presence, please also state whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. And then after I take attendance, I'll briefly review the agenda, which we also reviewed prior to the recess. So Ms. Cannon, are you present?
I am present and I am alone.
Great, thank you, Ms. Cannon. Mr. Croto, are you present?
I am present and I am alone.
Thank you, Mr. Croto. Mr. Crush, are you present? Mr. Crush is not present. Ms. Higgins, are you present?
I'm here all by my beautiful self. Did you hear me? I'm here.
I think Jenny faded out for a second.
I think so too. Ah, the wonders of technology.
Yeah, she definitely faded out.
Yeah, the screen's frozen.
Should we continue with roll call on her behalf, or should we wait until she comes back?
I don't see why we can't continue with the roll call, because really all it is just making sure everyone is here.
Yep, so I don't mind continuing it.
Go ahead, Gina.
So after me, David Parker, are you here?
I am here and I'm alone.
Yay. Liza Ponier, are you here?
Here and alone.
Yay. Danielle Smith, are you here?
I'm here and alone.
Yay. Jim Richards, are you here? Okay, so we're still missing just Chuck and Jim.
Right.
Okay. Well, at least we know who's here.
So a quorum of the board is present and we're able to conduct business.
Mr. Bass, I wonder if you would.
I'm back.
Oh, yeah,
Jenny's
Jenny's back.
Good.
Jenny,
Sorry
we
about
did
that, guys.
attendance for you. We're all set with roll call. I took care of it.
Thank you so much, Barb. I appreciate
welcome.
it. Are we the same as before? So we've
Yeah,
got,
no Chuck and no Jim.
okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Sorry I got kicked out. Barb, if I drop off again, it is all yours.
I'm on it. I'm on it.
Okay.
Jenny?
Thank you. Thanks. Yes,
Jenny, I
Tom?
was just about to ask Dr. Bast if he would let us know who else is in the meeting from the admin and as we typically do, but I know you might have gotten to that.
Sure, I can't see all the names on the screen, but I'm pretty sure we have Mike Reardon, Donna Paley, Jack Dunn, Matt Cashman, and Larry Prince, maybe. Larry, are you here?
I see LP.
I see LP, must be, yeah. I think that's it for administration that I'm aware of. But again, I can't see all the names or the faces, so.
I think
No,
one
it's
of them is Liza,
That's Liza
think-
Ponier. Sorry, Liza.
and I don't think Matt is here,
Okay.
but I do think that Art is here, although he's not.
Yep, Art
No.
Betancourt has been invited on this
Yep.
list, and so you know, and Mike Reardon from the high school is here. I think that's it. The others that were
I know
invited.
Paulette had joined earlier, but I
Yeah,
don't know
Donna
if
was
she
here
rejoined.
earlier, too.
I see Donna's name. Yeah.
Yes, I'm
So-
here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good.
Great.
Thank you, Donna. So I think that is everyone, and thank you, Tom, for picking that up, and thank you, Barb, for picking up the roll call. So as we discussed earlier, our agenda is first, an update on the superintendent search. Second, discussion of graduation. Third, the administration is bringing forward some information with respect to spring coaching stipends. Fourth, we have public comment. And then fifth, we have any votes that are necessary. And then sixth, we will be going into non-public session. So turning to the superintendent search, let me give a brief update and then I will call on Tom and Art and maybe others to chime in, but I do expect this will be sadly a brief item. So the status of the superintendent search is that after a diligent and thorough effort led by support from New England School Development Council, NESDEC, we unfortunately are suspending our superintendent search for now. We did have 2 candidates who reached the final stage of the screening process, and due to the current situation with the COVID-19 pandemic, they have made the difficult decision to withdraw their names from consideration and to stay with their current districts during this time. So I want to thank everyone who has participated in this process so far and to assure everyone in the community that the process will continue to move forward. We had many people, hundreds of people who participated in the community needs assessment and the focus groups. We developed a robust candidate profile, which is a detailed description of the qualities and skills that our community is looking for in our next superintendent. We had a screening committee that worked tirelessly from February through April. They looked through all of the applications that came into the district. They met in March and they narrowed the field to 5 applicants based on the candidate profile, and they conducted remote interviews of those 5 candidates, and then ultimately narrowed the field to 2 candidates that were presented to the board for consideration. And that committee, which represented a cross-section of the school community, students, parents, teachers, administrators, and other community members, was chaired by Tom Krotos. And I just want to thank Tom for his leadership in this search, and also to thank Jack Dunn and Danielle Smith for all of the work that they did and all of the work that the screening committee did. It was a very difficult time and it was a tremendous amount of work. So we we'll be looking to move forward with this search. We have Art Betancourt, who is here and can talk a little bit about next steps and, you know, where we want to go from here. We will be developing a plan of action and moving forward. And we are very appreciative of everyone's effort. We're sad that we're in this situation, but it is unfortunately a consequence of the situation that we all find ourselves in. So with that, Tom, I don't know if you want to add anything, or Art, but that unfortunately is where we are.
Jenny, you've covered it all. Again, it is disappointing, but it is sort of refreshing to know that there are dedicated people out there who still want to stick with their districts, and this just isn't the time for our district to move forward with this. And I just wanted to thank again our Dr. Betancourt. He's been with us throughout this whole thing. Anytime Jack and I picked up the phone, he was right there, and they have vowed to continue to work with us, and that's very soothing. I know that this will come out better at the end. So thank you.
Yeah, and Gina, did you want to speak?
I just wanted to add that, well, it's disappointing. It tells me that the search committee did in fact pick two excellent candidates of the highest character. So, I mean, it's disappointing for us, but clearly they were tremendous candidates for our superintendent's position.
Yes, thank you, Gina. So moving forward, you know, the board will have a conversation about next steps, and you know, I think that we will be looking to Mr. Betancourt and others to assist us in developing a plan of action. We're incredibly appreciative of the work that Dr. Bass has done with us, and he has just been an outstanding leader for the past 6 months, and we want to support his ability to, you know, continue with what he had been doing prior to coming here. And so we just need to talk through what our next steps are, and we will be doing that.
Jenny, I just would like to say that
Yes, Tom.
Liza and Gina, together with some information from Dr. Betancourt, put together a sort of a press release that once we really polished it up, to be ready to put out tomorrow if we need to, and go from there. So I just wanted to thank them for their work today.
Yes, no, thank you, Tom, and thank you so much, Gina and Liza, for your work on that. And so we will be getting that information out to the community. That will be more articulate than what I've said tonight, but we did want to let people know that this is unfortunately the status, and despite all of the hard work of many people, we will have to wait a little longer. But that work will not be wasted, because it has been an excellent effort.
Jenny?
Yes, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Are we going to be able to review the public statement, just so that I know what I need to respond to if people talk to me?
Yes, absolutely. So we'll circulate it before it's issued.
Thank you.
Yep. And okay, any other comment or discussion on that situation? Okay, next we will move to a happier topic, Concord High graduation. And we wanted to have a conversation about what the plans were, and so we are very pleased to be joined by Mike Reardon and Dr. Bass, and we would love to hear more about the plans for graduation.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm going to turn it over to Mike in a few minutes, but I just want to give you some background. Obviously, we felt very strongly about the senior class. We wanted to do something special for them if it was at all possible. we realized they missed an awful lot this year. No prom, no senior trip, and spending the last 6-8 weeks in remote learning, and knowing full well they're not coming back to school as school ends this year. So that's really unfortunate for them. And so, Mike and I and a whole bunch of other people at the school, which I'll name in a minute, really spent a lot of time thinking, okay, what can we do here? What can we do to make graduation special for them? But at the same time, be cognizant of and acknowledge the rules and regulations that have been put in place by the governor and DHHS and even the State Department of Education. And so we had a number of iterations. We've had many, many different plans. They've morphed one way or another. Some have gone to very, very elevated heights. Some have come back. We've tried every 6 ways to Sunday to try to figure out something that would be memorable for the senior class, but at the same time, again, be very clearly within the bounds of safety and security relative to the COVID-19 crisis, and making sure that we followed all that to a T. So I sent you a proposal on Friday, I believe. Mike has updated that proposal, and I think he sent that out to you this afternoon, but he'll go through it. So there's been some minor changes. I do want to pay special attention to Police Chief Brad Osgood, because without Brad, we would not be where we are right now. He was very instrumental in making this thing come together in a way that we feel is very sellable, both to the public and to all the authorities that we're going to have to meet. So much so that Brad has said he would be glad to join us when we do make the presentation to DHHS, which I'm waiting for that invitation to come through. So that was extremely important for us to get that input and also to get his support. And so, I'll turn it over to Mike in 1 second. I just want to say one other thing. It wasn't just Mike. I mean, it was Mike and his whole team. Lisa Lamb, we're talking about Kylene Chalovskis, we're talking about Jim Corkum, Tim Herbert, Steve Rothenberg, Tom Crumrine, a number of other folks. So a lot of work went into this. A lot of people felt very strongly about how can we make this graduation as memorable as possible for all these kids. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Mike.
So what Frank's talking about a process that's really been evolutionary. And one of the positive things about that journey is that we kind of have developed a lot of backups to our A game here. So we have a lot of options that are available to us if things, if you feel a little diffident about any of the stuff we're going to put forward. But just to quickly reiterate, what we heard from the seniors, who, as Frank said, have had, in effect, everything taken away from them that's traditional in the closure to their public school careers. What we heard from them as being the most important thing, bar none, was that they wanted to be together on graduation day. I'm sure you guys know the first iteration of the plan was that we were going to have 3 separate ceremonies with about 100 kids each, and each kid would have 2 or 3 guests there. And we put that out to them, and there was a lot of hemming and hawing, but what came back pretty strongly was that they wanted a sense of closure with the peers that they've been with for 12 years. That's what was most important to them. So here's the deal. Here's the plan that we have. Stop me at any point as I run through this. So we're talking about the original date of June 13th. The rain date would be the following day, Sunday, 14th. 9 a.m., we're going to start a little bit early. We're talking about 300 graduates, roughly. Could be a couple more, could be a couple less. But we're talking about 300 kids. Now, the first thing that's going to occur to anybody who thinks about bringing 300 kids together are you out of your mind? But I'm going to give you a graphic, and I will send this to you. I will send a copy down to you electronically. But I got to back up a little bit. So can you guys get a look at that?
Bring the
This is-
camera down a little bit.
Oh, this is the, this
There
is
you go.
this is the football field. And our architecture teacher, George Golden, kind of mapped this out for us. And what it shows, and you can take a look at it tomorrow, I'll send a copy, electronic copy over to you. But what it shows is that we can supply each of our 300 graduates with an 8-foot box, a metaphorical box, so that they will be more than adequately socially distanced down on the football field. So we're actually going to paint lines on that. There's obviously going to be a chair there, and the chair will have the senior's name on it, so that we can be pretty accurate about where the kids are. They're not going to be stumbling over each other or falling over each other or really passing in front of each other. So we're talking about 300 kids. We're going to ask the parents to drop them off in the Memorial Field parking lot, but the parents are not to park there. They can park on Fruit Street for reasons I'll get to in a minute. They can park over at the state hospital, or they can park up in the senior parking lot. So the parents are just going to be dropping. There are going to be no parents at this ceremony. I don't take any joy in that, but we've got something for them coming up in this. Trying to do something so everyone's involved here. So it's going to be our seniors all together. They'll be wearing masks. I know that Barbara and Jen Spidell, our robotics coach, are preparing 400 masks, distinctive personalized masks for our seniors and faculty and administration that will be on the field. When the kids arrive at the field, they are going to line up outside the track. We're going to have little metal rulers marking off the space that they have so they can separate themselves. Now, I also want to tell you guys that, and I think this is a really important aspect of this whole thing. We have to do an excellent job of clarifying with the seniors and their families about following expectations. We're talking about, again, 300 17 and 18-year-olds, and this is really kind of a final exam for them. We have to be sure that they are understanding what's going to be expected of them throughout the ceremony that I'm attempting to describe here. The administration, the teachers are going to be with them as they do these different things that I'm going to talk about. But really, I mean, let's get serious. Their behavior and their meeting expectations for maintaining social distance, keeping their masks on, all of this really is contingent upon their ability to demonstrate themselves as mature and responsible young adults, which is the whole point of graduating kids from high school. So we need to do a really strong job and a repeated job of making those expectations clear to kids, making sure that their families are aware of them, and that they are in agreement and ready to meet those expectations. This is the last thing we want in any aspect of this, is to run into any issues. So the students will line up, socially distanced, get the little rulers, they're all lined up, and then we will place pomp and circumstance. That's going to be put together by a videographer, along with the national anthem sung by the chorus. That's all going to be put together, and it's going to be available to us remotely. The seniors will march in, go to their designated seats with their names on them. As I said, they'll be in an 8-foot metaphorical box, which is actually painted on the field. The faculty will be seated. We're not sure exactly how many faculty we're going to have. We anticipate probably 40 to 50. They will be seated facing the seniors, about 20 on each side of the stage. By the way, we have a new stage this year. The old one was basically decrepit. I never actually saw it, but I heard about it. So we have a new stage coming in. Teachers will be on either side of it. We will have 4 speakers. We're going to have the obviously the valedictorian, Victoria Yang, Joanna Nichols, who's a salutatorian. We're going to have the memory speaker, which I just found out about today, but sounds like a wonderful tradition. I'm very excited about that, and we have to do some research now to identify who can do that job for us this year. But we're also we're trying a new thing that's already looks like it's going to be pretty successful. In my I put out a video and a newsletter for the families and the kids yesterday, and I said we wanted to have a 3rd student speaker, but that was going to be competitive. That they can submit drafts of a speech. I urge them to be imaginative, funny, personalized, and profound if they're up to that challenge. And interestingly, I came in this morning and a young lady, has already submitted one of the best graduation speeches I've seen over my many years of doing graduations. And then I got a second one later in the day, and I've got 2 more inquiries in the first day. So I think I already have a great speech from this first young lady who came, and I think we're going to get some more. And what we're thinking about doing, one of those people will be one of the graduation speakers, but we're thinking about putting the other speeches together as part of the program, again, as a way to try and make this special. And Frank, I know, has already spoken to Sydney Kilgore, our class, our state champion Poetry Out Loud senior, and she's going to be doing a poem for the seniors as well, and they'll be part of the program too. So we're going to have the speakers. We also have pre-recorded addresses from Senators Hassan and Shaheen. So at the appropriate time, each of the graduates in their rows will come forward, maintaining their social distance. They still have their masks on. When their name is announced, they will come up the ramp. We will obviously have their diplomas together in alphabetical order. A gloved administrator or board member will take the diploma, place it on the table, and the senior will come up and get his or her diploma, go down the other way, and that way we'll go through it. And, obviously this year there's not going to be any shaking hands or any of the things that make graduation traditional. For, needless to say, we can't do that any longer. The ceremony is going to be available through Concord TV. It's also going to be on WKXL so that parents can watch and or listen while they're waiting for the conclusion of the ceremony. At the end of the ceremony, you'll find this interesting, the seniors will march out in an orderly, socially distanced manner, and we're going to cue them up on Fruit Street. They're going to bang a left behind a police cruiser on Fruit Street, and they are going to begin the march of the graduates. Now, I will just say parenthetically that this is where the chief of police comes in. Our first idea was that they were going to march, and we were very, very excited about this. It was kind of disappointing. They were going to march all the way down Pleasant Street and take a left on Main Street, and then if Frank worked his magic, they were going to meet the governor at the State House for a few words before dispersing. Well, the chief disabused us of it's just logistically the number of police and the number of roads that have to be closed off was just prohibitively complicated. But as Frank alluded to, the chief came up with enough stuff at the top of his head. Said, why don't you guys, and this makes symbolic sense, why don't they take the march from Memorial Field down Fruit Street, go across the intersection, and then walk around the school. So that's what we're going to do. we'll have a second cruiser at the intersection, stopping traffic. The 300 kids, they're going to be in 3 rows. If you remember, Fruit Street's pretty wide. It's a pretty broad street. So we can have 3 rows of graduates. They will cross over, go down Fruit Street, bang a left on whatever it is, and whatever the name of the street is, and back, and then come up Westbourne. And the parents, here's the really nice part of this. Parents, community members will be lining Fruit Street and around the school as the kids go around, making, we hope, as much noise as humanly possible. Noisemakers, signs, applause, the whole deal. And we've wanted to include the Concord High School band, but the more we thought about kids that, they obviously can't play a lot of the instruments with a mask on. And again, we don't want to push the envelope too far. We need to know where the line is. So what we're going to do, rather than having the whole band, we're just going to have the drummers lead the procession. We also have a really nice banner with all of the graduates' pictures on it. So that's going to be at the front. The cruiser will be at the front. And that's kind of the way that the procession will proceed around the school. The cruiser, now, we need to get permission to do this, but we want to, this is one of the more difficult parts of this. So we have, in terms of 300 graduates, we have anywhere from 6 to 8 to 900 family members. I'm sure there will be community members as well. So we could easily be talking about 1,000 people, on this route. So part of our responsibility to make this work, and as Frank alluded, we have to present this to Health and Human Services later in the week. We want to mark off the social distances for the spectators by family. So these are people who live together in the same house. So we want to have space for 3 or 4 people to be together on Fruit Street and then down around and out Winterbourne. And we want to mark that by tape or some spray paint or whatever. We obviously need to get permission to do that. But that's kind of our thinking with that part. Now, I alluded to backup plans. If you guys think that that's a little too iffy, because the number of people who are kind of going to be out there, along with the graduates, plan B would be to have them in their cars and maybe allow them to get out when they see their graduate approaching to take pictures or so forth. But we could have them in their cars with the cars facing the oncoming graduates on both sides of the street. But ideally, just for the effect of it, if feasible, we'd like to have them outside on the roadway. We're going to have another vehicle with the marchers for kids who cannot make that walk. We're going to have 3 or 4 golf carts in case anyone becomes, like me, becomes fatigued walking around the school. Obviously, the administrative team and a lot of the teachers will be accompanying the kids, again, helping them to maintain their distance, keep their masks on, all of that stuff. And the march will conclude once we get around to Winterbourne. They're again going to cross the street, going up towards the senior lot. Again, the key is keeping them socially distanced. One of the real problems we have, I will just be frank with you, is that these kids haven't seen each other for a long time. And this is a huge day in their young lives. So they're going to want to talk. They'll probably want to shake hands or something. We need to be vigilant throughout this. And, when this thing concludes around the other end of the school, it's not over. We need to stay on top of them and make sure they're doing what we ask them to do. And then what we're going to do is have the parents in their vehicle come into the senior lot. We're going to use our walkie-talkies. And as the parents come in, we'll get the names of the kids they're looking for. We'll get the kids out of line, send them up to get in their parents' cars, and get them out of there. And we think we can do that fairly efficiently as this proceeds. So that's kind of it. We're bringing all the kids together. I think we've got a really good ceremony in terms of the way that we will have music, even though it can't be live. It's going to be done by a videographer. It will be well done. We have some wonderful speakers, very bright kids, talented kids. And then we're going to do the special walk, which I could see this becoming a tradition in following years, if we can get your support to do that type of thing. So that's kind of where we are.
Yeah, I just want to add one more thing. Of course, you never know when Jack's involved in a conversation. So Jack just texted me and said, hey, that band is so good. It's such a shame not to be able to have that band play. And he goes, I realize you can't have them march around with the kids for all the reasons we just talked about. But what a shame for our community and our kids not to hear such a great band play. So I said, this is all going on while Mike's talking. I said, well, Jack, how could we do that? And he goes, put them on the roof. So I thought he was joking. And I said, Jack, how do we get them on the roof? He says, trust me, we can do it. So,
That would be
so
great.
he goes, Jack and Matt Cashman, he said, we'll figure a way. There's plenty of room up there. We'll make it safe. And I'm telling you, you've got to hear this band. When the band is in full regalia, they are really, really good. So I'm going to have
that would be
jokes,
such
but
a
I'm
great
half serious.
visual
So
thing.
that would be wonderful. We could pull that off.
So, I guess in conclusion, board, what I would say is, this started out, I kid you not, the first thing we were talking about was doing a vehicular drive-by in the
Yes.
senior lot. And, we talked about, I said at one point to the administrative team, if we're going to do this, I'm just going to set myself on fire because that really stinks to do that. It's so impersonal and meaningless. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the kids didn't show up. And it kind of evolved from there. So I know this is a little bit, it's not over the top, but it's a little bit edgy. But I think we can do it. If we can get the kids' cooperation, and I think we can, they're great kids, and I think they understand what the situation is, and I think they can come up to the mark for us and make this a really special day. What was going to be kind of a bummer of a day in a lot of ways now can be very special for them. It's great closure.
Yeah, one more thing, as this broke, as we had the first conversation with the board on May 4th, there was an article in the paper, and so I did receive some commentary from around the state, and one superintendent said to me, Frank, you're not the U.S. Air Force Academy. What's the matter with you? And my answer is, no, we're not, but we're the next best thing. We're Concord High School. So I think we can do this. I really do. And I think Mike has really spent a lot of time talking to the kids about, we're going to make this special, then you're going to do what needs to be done to make it special. And I think everybody's working together here to make this a really special event. This is not just, oh, wouldn't that be nice? No, this is something really special because of all that has transpired. And these kids really want this to happen. And that makes all the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for presenting this, and I think it's really helpful to gain that vision of what this would look like and to see all of the effort and all the conversations that have gone into it and kind of the aspirational piece versus the piece. I mean, the piece on Memorial Field, I think it sounds. I looked at the guidance that was put together by the Department of Education, and, it seems like it's consistent with that, and I know you've talked to them, and I know the big challenge, and we talked about this really briefly.
No, she lost again.
Oops.
Well, while we're waiting for Jenny to come back, other board comments on the presentation that Mike has made?
Frank, it's Tom Proto.
Yep.
I just love the enthusiasm. And out of enthusiasm like that, good things often happen. It's really very exciting to think that this could actually happen that way. And I love the idea of having the band. So I'm hoping that other people have as much excitement about it at DHHS and that we can make this happen for our students, who I'm sure are just tickled pink about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it.
That's Tom Sicker or different.
Jenny, you're back.
I'm back.
Yeah.
I'm back. Can
Really?
people hear me?
Piece of it. And, yay. I was just giving my 2 cents. You know me, 2 cents equals
Good.
$5. But it's just fun to see all this happening. And I also want to acknowledge, no plan is going to be okay with everybody. And this will be a very different graduation experience. But I think of the logistics of making this happen. And I'm just in awe of everybody, of the city workers at Memorial Field, of the school district people that are making this happen. And I feel that the students will rise up because it's their graduation. I mean, it's their day. So I just want to thank everybody for their input and to know that, offer, I'm here to help in any way that I can. So I'm just glad to be a part of it.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thanks, Barb.
Well, thank you, Barb. I'm sorry I keep dropping off. I don't know why it's not working for me tonight, but I guess that happens. I think what I was trying to say when I got dropped off was it sounds like everything on the Memorial Field side is just really well planned out. And the part that's a big challenge is once you get into the larger community and 1,000 people, and it's so hard to know how you can do that safely. And also, what will the world look like? I mean, this is a month from now. What will the guidance be around gatherings? And so that's why I'm glad that the conversation is going to take place with DHHS. And if we have to modify this, I just think that safety of the community is paramount, and just making sure that we don't create challenges for families who may have family members who are at heightened risk for COVID-19. That this is something that the graduate can participate in, that the family members can observe remotely, and that there can be an orderly way, for that to take forward, because, we can have lots of confidence in our students, but I think it gets into just a larger gathering, and I just want to make sure we've done everything we can to have that be something that's constructive.
I couldn't agree more.
So, did other board members have questions or comments? Dave?
Yeah. I'll comment. I'm really impressed with all the effort that people have put into this and all the work. I cross my fingers. If you go down to the State House Plaza, those are parents on Saturdays. If you've been by there, those are parents of some of our kids. And I just worry. I worry deeply about people being able to follow all those rules and the numbers involved. But I'll support it. I'll definitely support it, and I want to be there. But it makes me incredibly nervous, and I'm wondering how liable we will be. So, a lot can happen in a month. I would love it to work.
Yeah.
But it's a big, big risk, I think. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dave.
Jenny, it's Liza.
Yep, go ahead, Liza.
I just wanted to comment that I think Principal Reardon's remarks about it being a final exam for the grads is exactly right. But I'm less worried about the graduates' behavior and more concerned about the families. When you hear about some of the really remarkable antisocial behavior of a few people over the last couple of weeks, it just, it makes me nervous too. That's all. I love the plan, and I really want it to go off the way we hope to, but I think we just need to really think hard about how to educate the families and the community before we.
Right.
Yeah, I think to Dave and Liza's point, I mean, Mike and I talked about that at length, and we also talked about it with Brad Osgood. I mean, we can control the kids. We feel pretty comfortable about that. And we feel that, we can set this up in a way in which all the things that we talked about, minus the parents, can go off pretty much without a hitch. The parents you can't control, and we know that. And so, our fallback position is to say, maybe we don't have the parents outside, clamoring and hooting and hollering and all that stuff. Maybe they're only allowed to be in their cars, as Mike had said. That's sort of our plan B. And that they can come out of their car when the child passes by and wave and say hi and it's great and congratulations, but they can't mingle. There can be no mingling, because the fear that we have is as soon as you get a group of people mingling, they're not going to stay put. That's the biggest issue. It's okay to say, here's an 8-foot spot for Jenny Patterson and all of her family, but who's to say what's going to happen once the parade starts? People are going to start veering off, and now they're going to be outside the zone. And so you've created some unintended issues that you don't want. So, we're kind of leading in the direction of, letting them know we'd like to do that, but obviously we recognize that that's a huge risk. And our plan B on that side is to say they stay in the cars, they listen to the graduation on the radio, or if they bring a portable TV, they can watch it. And when the child passes by, they can get out of the car, wave, and take a picture, but they can't leave the car. And that may be where we end up, because again, I think as everyone's pointed out, that's our biggest fear: how to be able to curtail any of these issues that might be generated during the graduation between parents and community members.
Again, I worry that it will become a political statement for some people, and that's because that's what's happened currently. So, but, again, I'll support whatever the board wants to do.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
And that's why I think it's great that we're having this conversation now, that this planning effort is going forward, so that we can really, just know where things stand, and whatever happens on that day, we just want it planned out so that we really understand and know what it's going to look like. And we've done everything that we can to make sure that it's completely appropriate.
Yeah, I think the other fail-safe too is that DHHS has to give permission. They're the final say. They're the last arbiter. They're not going to do this if they think that it's too fraught with possibilities of people doing things they shouldn't do. So it's in a way a get-out-of-jail-free card for us. If they approve this, then there's a 95% chance that it should go off pretty well. Nothing's a guarantee, and we get that. But I think having them go through the process with us, and there might be some wrinkles they come up with that we didn't think of, which is also great too. And I think, as Mike has said, we've gone through these iterations so many times. We have a number of Plan A and Plan Bs all along the way. So as soon as they say, well, we don't like this particular part, we have an answer for that almost immediately. So I think we're in a good position to be able to massage this plan, if you will, to make sure it suits whatever the concerns are that DHHS brings forward.
Great. Thank you. Gina, did you have something?
Yeah, I agree that I think the kids are not the wild card.
Right.
The parents are the wild card. And I just, you can't even get people to put on masks and go one way up and down the aisles at Shaw's. I don't know that you're going to get parents. I remember how big of a deal this was, not only for me, but for my parents. And I worry that the parents are the wild card. They're going to be emotional. They're going to want to get into the line of the marchers and hug their kids. And I worry about our Plan A, and I will support whatever the board supports, but I would feel a whole lot more comfortable with the Part B, where they're in their car. When your kid comes by, honk the horn, yell out the window, do whatever it is that you do, but the families stay in the cars.
Yeah, I think you're right, Gina. I think that's probably where we're going to end up.
And this is Barb here, and I agree with the car piece. I think, my daughter Gracie works at the liquor store, and half the people that come in there aren't wearing masks. We have this thing, but I'm a firm believer that we don't let politics and opinion guide us. We function on the high expectations of our students and knowing that what we want is a good graduation ceremony. I feel optimistic about it. I really feel that everyone involved, students and parents, want it to work. And if the parents have to stay in their cars to make it work for their kids, I think they'll do it with love. That's just me. I just think it will be fine. I think that we will end the day amazed at how fabulously our families handled this day. That's my opinion.
Yeah,
I
appreciate
wanted to point out one thing about this, about Plan B and the cars, which, we've been talking about right along while we've been planning this. We don't actually have the authority to keep people in the cars. I think we need to, we need to be aware of that. I worry in that part of it, if that might not actually, you start telling people to get in their cars, that might not trigger some kind of weird reaction. I don't know. I know that, there's no perfect answer to this. Just try to be aware of what the different variables are, that's all.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. And I think that's why it's really important for us to be coordinating with the city and the state officials so that whatever we do is in keeping with what
Exactly.
our city and our state have decided is an appropriate gathering and is appropriate public conduct. So it's not us, but we're communicating from an educational perspective to the families and the people who will be there what is and is not appropriate. And if we go forward with it, then it's something that the state and the city feel is appropriate.
Exactly.
And otherwise, we won't be doing it.
Right.
Tom, I think you had your hand up.
I did, Jenny, thank you. I'm just referring to the DHHS. Do they have a sort of an ad hoc committee or somebody?
I'm not sure.
down there?
All I know is that when we talked to DOE, DOE had liked the plan and said that you guys have really thought this thing out very well. But he goes,
Right.
we're not the final authority. You now have to go before DHHS. And we just said, okay, fine. So he then called over there. Now, I don't know who he talked to, but they're setting up an appointment for us. So I'm assuming it's going to be some kind of a hearing that we're going to have with DHHS officials. And I know the governor's aware of all this. I know for a fact that he knows what we're trying to do. So I'm sure he's going to weigh in too. And I'm sure that he does not want to have something to occur, especially in his backyard, that's going to be fraught with the kind of difficulties that we've, sort of intimated here if things go awry. So I feel comfortable that if we do get approval, that whatever that plan is, it's going to be really good. It's going to have as least amount of chance for these kinds of issues to occur.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Any other board member thoughts or comments?
Yeah, I have a suggestion. And I know it's important for the parents to see this, and they can listen and they can watch. The March of the Graduates, what if instead of ringing the sidewalks with family, who are, at least in my opinion, much more difficult to corral, then the honor is given to the juniors, who are much more malleable within the educational system. That the juniors get to celebrate, they get to make the noise, they get to cheer the seniors as they walk by.
Well, but then we're kind of locking the parents out of the whole deal, Gina. That's what I worry about.
Me too.
They're the ones who've been paying the bills for us, and I feel kind of uncomfortable saying, that's where this whole march came from. Was okay, if we can put all 300 kids together, we can't have like 800 parents there. There's no way we're going to control that many people. So instead, we will do this March of the Graduates. And I saying that they can't, all they can do is just pick their kids up after all this, I think it seems a little harsh. I like the junior part, though.
Wish we could do both.
Well, listen,
Can I ask one question?
Yeah.
Yep, go ahead.
Do we have do we have a plan if this is not approved by the DHS?
Oh, we got 3 or 4 other plans, yes.
Okay, thank you. Just wondering. Thanks, Frank.
Listen, thank you all very much. Really appreciate the commentary, and you've given us some other ideas too. And obviously, the safety and security of the community is going to be our number one priority, and we'll make sure that we adhere to whatever guidelines DHHS provided to us. But I do want to thank you all for your commentary and your insights. It's great, and it's nice to know that you are so supportive of the kids, and obviously all this happened to them this year.
Yep. Well, thank you, Dr. Bass. And yeah, please keep us posted. Let's keep having the conversation. And if there are decision points where the board really needs to weigh in, I mean, I think at this point we're saying preliminarily, let's go forward with this to DHHS and we'll see how it evolves. But clearly we're very interested, but we're also very appreciative of the effort that's going into planning here.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. So I think we are moving on, Jack, to your agenda item, if you want to present it. Jack, are you there? I'm not hearing Jack. Is anyone else hearing Jack?
No, I'm not hearing Jack. He was just texting me a few minutes ago. I don't know where he disappeared to.
I think he's muted, maybe. Well, let's give him a second and see.
Sorry, you're looking for me?
Yeah, we are.
Go ahead. Sorry, I was on the phone trying to work the graduation aspects.
I figured as much.
That's right. I'm already on the phone. I'm trying to support what they're trying to do because you know what, those kids, I've never seen anything like it. And for the administration to be doing what they're doing up there, I appreciate it. So sorry, what did I miss?
We were moving on to your agenda item.
Oh, okay. The coach stipends. So.
Yeah.
Some of you may have read this past weekend about an article in the paper with the coaches. And last week, there was a similar article in Seacoast Online. So I have been communicating with the athletic director the last few weeks who has been advocating for some type of partial stipend for our coaches. They have been reaching out to the kids. Obviously, they did not cancel the season until a few weeks ago. I think it was mid to late April, more late April, before it was finally canceled. And obviously, when they start conditioning and doing their things, they had already started reaching out. And our athletic director has encouraged coaches to reach out to those students because some of those students, this is what they really, this is their passion. So having done that, we had brought to the board when we passed the budget on April 13th about if there was no season, there'd be no stipend. And you may have seen in that article, it's all over the place as far as who's doing what on these stipends. Some have paid full out, some have paid a portion, and some have paid none. What we want to ask the board is to move forward with paying 25% of that stipend. So to tell you the numbers, raw number, we would have paid $69,000 out if we had paid the full stipend. $69,000 at FICA, some who are teachers, New Hampshire retirement, so it would be higher than that number. But that was budgeted. If we were to pay just 25%, all the coaches who would have been involved this year, who were nominated and approved by the board, it'd be $15,000 plus FICA plus New Hampshire retirement if they're eligible. And what we're asking the board after going through all of this, they approve paying these coaches the 25% as a good faith effort for what they have done so far. The athletic director has sent me a number of emails that these coaches have done interacting with these kids, whether it's through virtual meets or a variety of other things. So I'm open to your questions beyond that.
So I'm going to speak up right away because I'm the only board member that was an athlete at Concord High and a coach for 21 years. And I know that my senior year, Frank, you can attest to this, I broke 5 minutes in the mile. I was the first high school girl to do it. And I've been thinking long and hard about how I would have felt in 1981 if I could not have run spring track, because I wouldn't have broken 5 minutes in the mile. I would have been home. I also know, because I'm connected to a lot of these athletes, that our coaches have been in contact with these kids. Frank has actually worked with some of our kids. And their athletic endeavors have continued in the way that they can. So anything we can do to support the efforts that our coaches, I'm a coach, and I know how much effort I put into my athletes. So I think we would be amiss to not compensate them in some way. So I will support whatever you think is right, Jack. And I just want to give a shout out to all these senior athletes that don't get to do what they could do. I mean, I can't even imagine if that were me. So, I think this is a good thing, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barb. Thank you. And I guess to echo what Barb said, I think when we had this conversation back when we voted on the budget, we really didn't know what it was going to look like. And I think that I may have been the one to ask the question, is what happens with the stipends if we don't have a season? And it did seem logical at that time that, well, if they're not doing any work, then they wouldn't get any stipend. But I think the importance of sports in our students' lives and the importance of the ongoing connection between the athletes and the coaches, it seems like it just makes sense to have there be something. But I think when Jack raised this with me this morning, I said, let's bring this forward to the board. I mean, we can see if we get any public comment on it. I'm not sure if anyone's participating, but it does seem that it's less of a simple situation than at least I thought when we talked about it during the budget meeting.
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Dave.
I'm support of the proposal. I'm wondering if we're doing that with all the other special, activities, like clubs and other things where people have offered, are getting paid. So are we doing 25% of all clubs?
I think we should, David. I think you bring up a great point. I know
Yeah.
Clint Close and the drama folks have done several Zoom meetings and reunions and all sorts of things for their actors. So it does raise a bigger question. And I think we should support all of that. I feel that our club leaders and our theater directors and our chorus teachers, all of those extra things have continued in amazing ways. Our music teachers at the high school have done these incredible videos where they're all singing, and students are involved. So, if those are stipends, I think that's right. I don't think we select sports separately. I think it's something that we consider.
I was a student athlete as well, but I was also a musician, and I was also involved in other activities. I think there's a tendency sometimes to just focus on the athletes. There are many activities that kids do that keep them in school. And so I just want to make sure that we're fair about this.
And I agree 100%.
Proposal is offered to all of those people out there that are stipend.
So let me follow up on that, and that was part of the motivation. So that you understand, with the co-curricular, it's paid in two separate stipends. It's paid in earlier part of the year and then on May 29th. For the co-curricular stipends for the clubs, they will receive 100% of their stipend. So we are going to pay everything for them. When it comes to the spring, the early discussion with the athletic director was, okay, understanding that no sports were to happen, there would be no stipend at all. And everybody was in agreement with that. And that was very early on in the process because we still didn't know whether there was going to be a season. But part of that process is some of the conditioning was still happening, and these coaches were still involved with these students doing virtual track meets and them conveying to the coaches their times. So all that was happening in anticipation of, even if it was a 1 week season, we were gonna pay the full amount, and we were all in agreement to that. But then the season got canceled, and then there was the article about the different disparity of different districts doing anything, and we felt considering the co-curricular, which goes all year and is split over two different pieces, we get the 100% stipend. We thought we had to do something and recognize these coaches for doing something, engaging these kids, even though there isn't a full season, as a full disappointment to the seniors, obviously, but also that they can't be involved. So that is why, working with the athletic director, this is what we came up with, and we felt it was fair. If you think it should be different than that, please let us know. So, but to answer your point, co-curricular is being paid fully 100%.
Great.
It would seem to me
All right,
if
so
the
Tom-
co-curricular is paying 100%, then maybe we should pay our coaches 100%. I mean, how are we discriminating?
David, co-curriculars go all year long.
Right,
So,
okay,
so they were busy up until school ended.
okay,
So like robotics, yeah. So it's different. It's not like they missed a chunk. They just didn't get to finish.
okay,
Like robotics got all ready for their competitions and then boom, it was over. They
okay,
spent hours. Yeah. So it's different like that.
okay, thank you.
So Tom, go ahead.
Thank you, Jen. So my thinking about this the last few days has been, I just didn't really know what to do. I knew that it felt good that we could pay the coaches a little something. But then I learned in the last day or so that co-curricular has been paid, which has already been discussed, which I didn't know about. And then I thought, well, how do we actually justify giving coaches part of their pay? And then I learned that they are indeed doing some work with our kids. And so it becomes more than just a feel good. It becomes something that just ought to be done. They are showing their dedication, as most of our coaches, if not all, do. They work in the off season with our kids. These folks, work ahead of time. I think I would give Jack my support and Steve Mello my support and go with this way. Thank you.
Great. Other board members have questions or comments, and the way I structured the meeting was that we would take public comment prior to making any decisions, so I won't call it as a vote, but we can certainly do that after the public comment period. Or, Jack, I don't know what the timing is, if this could wait till the June meeting, or would you like us to make a decision on it now?
Our preference is that you make a decision. Typically, we pay all the co-curricular out on May 29th, whether it's sports or other. And as this thing was progressing forward, I felt, let me just bring it to you and let you make the decision on what you prefer to do. It is our recommendation that we do move forward with a 25% stipend. If you prefer to delay it, that's fine. But I just need to give ample time to our payroll staff to get things in place. So if the opportunity was tonight, we had hoped that we'd be able to do that.
I think
Okay.
tonight works.
Okay, well, I just wanted to do the public comment, and then in case there's anything else that we should be considering that we're not thinking of, since it did come up kind of at the last minute, but I'm fine with us making a decision on it tonight. So I think
Jenny, was this posted?
it wasn't posted, so it just came up to my attention today, so it wasn't
So
on
the
the
public really
official agenda.
So the public really hasn't been notified that this was going to be decided, voted on tonight?
Right, it wasn't on the originally posted agenda.
I don't have a problem with it, but what I do potentially have a problem with is not allowing the public's input. So,
No, I hear you. That's why I'm saying that. So,
and it's a week. As far as I understand, it's a week, right? We'll be meeting in June. June when?
so June 1st, I think, is our
Right.
monthly
So it's a
meeting.
couple days. I just think the public should have an opportunity to weigh in on this. That's just my opinion. But, I'd vote in favor of it, but I just don't think the public should be able to weigh in.
Right. I think it is important to get our agendas out there publicly as much as we can. It's a struggle right now. I know we're broadcasting live. I hope that folks are watching. And let me just say the number. So if anybody's watching and wants to call in now, they can call 925-391-1169 with a conference ID of 763-078-446 pound. So we are happy to take public comment, and I think let's save the discussion of whether or not we should act on it today till after we take public comment, if we get any.
We can vote if we want, I'm not saying we can't vote, but it's just my observation.
Yep, no, I appreciate that. Thank you, Dave. Any other board member thoughts or comments? Well, why don't we move on to public comment, and then we can circle back to this. So, Jack, I don't know whether we have members of the public who are on, but
Yep, I believe we do. I think we
Okay.
have Miss Revelace. I apologize if I'm not pronouncing that name correctly, but I do see two others sitting there, I believe. I don't know if they're still there, but other than that, I only see board members. So
let's give a second and see if Mr. Revelise is there and wishes to make a public comment. I'm not hearing anyone. And I'm actually not seeing anyone on my participant list.
I know she was on earlier because I saw her and her daughter, but
Yeah.
maybe they've logged off since. So and I'll check the log to see if I see them have gone off, but. It doesn't show that they've logged off. But anyway, okay.
Okay, well, I'm not hearing any other public comment. So I think the only thing that we would need a motion on, if we're going to move forward with it, is the proposal to pay spring coaches a 25% of their stipend at a cost of $15,000 plus benefits associated with that amount, right?
This is me, Barb, and I would move that we do that.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded, and let's have some discussion. So Dave, you've already made the point, which I thought was a good point, that maybe we should hold off until our June meeting to give the public an opportunity to comment. Did you want to speak further to that?
No, but I'll just probably abstain from the vote.
So I guess I have a question, Jack.
Yep.
So the 15,000, can you find that money? What impact will that have on the budget if we?
Oh, there really isn't, because right now there's about 120,000, I believe, in the co-curricular account. And we would have paid 69,000 plus benefits. We're only paying 15 plus benefits. So there's really no budget impact. If anything, as I mentioned, when we get to the executive committee, I think on the 18th, I'm going to be requesting a finance committee meeting to discuss the year-end fund balance. And then probably at June 25th, which I may have mentioned at your last public meeting, about having a board action meeting. Right now, I am at a year-end fund balance of over $3 million. And again, a lot of this has to do with the school district not operating. Electricity, gas, all these things, supplies, a number of things are up that are abnormal. And what it will be bringing to you is, this is what we think based on historical trends you would have been at. And then we're going to request that you put money away. Because one, you'll put into your trust to be able to stabilize things. Because I got to be honest with you. I think there's some uncertainty for at least the next 2 years of budget cycles. We learned this week that the governor has about $9 million at his discretion in federal funds. We don't know what that'll mean. We know that this is the last year of the whole lifting of the collar and the state adequacy. We don't know what that's going to mean. Anybody that was on the board or remembers back to 10 years ago when we had the economic downturn then, the state made some changes and downshifted a lot of money to the local. We still need to wait and see what the city does with its budget and whether they're going to need some relief. Last time, 10 years ago, they had asked us to lower our budget so they could raise their budget because we got some stimulus money. I just look at all these things, and all I want to do is put us in a position to be stable and not have to go out to taxpayers for more money. That's all I'm trying to do right now. So we want you to be involved in, obviously, in that conversation. But this isn't really an impact to the budget. It's not. Again, if the normal year had happened, it was already in your budget to pay them out fully.
Yes. So, I mean, I think the way I'm viewing this is it was something that we spoke to during our budget vote. And, now that we fully understand the circumstances and the work that the coaches are putting in, it's a modification. Therefore, you brought it forward to us, but it's a drop in the bucket as compared to the budget issues that we'll be looking at in June and going forward in October. And so it's really more of an adjustment than anything else.
As I listen to what people are saying, I can vote in favor of this. I just think that the economic future is really tenuous, and it scares the heck out of me. And so I think showing actually fiscal discipline by giving 25% is one way to look at it, instead of the full amount. So it makes sense. I just think we always, particularly currently, need to make the public, or have the public be very aware that we're considering the financial impact, because who knows what's going to happen forward. I'm really frightened.
Yes. Agreed. Tom, go ahead. Tom, did you have your hand up?
I did earlier and I spoke and I'm done. Thank you.
Oh, okay, great. So does anybody have comment on the motion that's pending? So seeing none, I will call the roll, and the motion was to give our spring coaches 25% of the stipend. Ms. Cannon,
Aye.
Mr. Croto,
Aye.
Mr. Crush, I believe is not here, Ms. Higgins,
Aye.
Mr. Parker,
Aye.
Ms. Poirier,
Aye.
Mr. Richards, I believe is not here, Ms. Smith,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. So the motion passes on a vote of 7-0. Okay, so I think that was all we had in terms of our public meeting. Is there anything else, Jack or Frank?
No, not for me anyway.
Thank you for that consideration. I think it sends a strong message to our coaches in light of all that's going on. And again, we're going to do everything we can to present to you a variety of options to try to just keep things stable. If we get away with that, we're happy, to be honest
Yes.
with you.
Thank you, Jack.
so-
And I do. I mean, I think that that the efforts of our coaches are supporting the experience of our students, and it's really important to show that we realize that that's happening, and it is important.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Thank you for bringing it forward. So I will now make a motion to enter non-public session. And I guess from a logistical perspective, in terms of our broadcast, I guess we'll be ending the meeting. So maybe do we need another number, Jack, to call in? Assuming that we do go into non-public?
If you would prefer that, I can create one and send one out right now, and you can all log on to that. Is that your preference?
Yeah, I think that would make it
Okay.
more straightforward. And
Yep.
then from Josh's perspective, then
Yep.
we'll just wrap up the meeting.
Not a
Josh,
problem. So you
yeah.
go ahead and close that out. I will create a new thing and send it out to all the board members.
Okay, great. Well, I will make the motion that we enter non-public session under RSA 91A3, Roman 2B, the hiring of any person as a public employee. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I think that was Gina. Is that right?
Yep.
Great. Thank you, Gina. So let me call the roll on the motion to enter non-public session. Ms. Cannon,
Aye.
Mr. Croto,
Aye.
Mr. Crush is not here. Ms. Higgins,
Aye.
Mr. Parker,
Aye.
Ms. Poinier,
Aye.
Mr. Richards is not here. Ms. Smith,
Aye.
and Ms. Patterson, the chair votes aye. So we have voted 7-0 to enter non-public session. And Jack will be sending us a new invite. So we will recess our meeting and we will reconvene on the new invite.
You will see that meeting any moment.
we are just coming out of non-public. So I believe we've got everyone here, and so I will make a motion to exit non-public session. And is there a second to that motion?
I'll
I'll
second
second it.
I think I saw Tom Croto as a second, and it is 8:49 p.m. Okay, so I think, Dave, you had just joined. I just made a motion to exit non-public session, and Tom has seconded it. And I will now call the roll on exiting non-public session. Ms. Cannon?
Aye.
Mr. Croto?
Aye. Aye.
Mr. Crush, I believe is not present. Ms. Higgins?
Aye.
Mr. Parker?
Aye.
Ms. Poinier?
Aye.
Mr. Richards, I believe is not present. Ms. Smith?
Aye.
And Ms. Patterson votes aye. So the board has just voted 7-0 to exit non-public session. And just to summarize what we discussed in non-public, this was to discuss kind of next steps with respect to our superintendent search, which, as I announced earlier in the meeting, the permanent superintendent search will be deferred until next year, and the board will be continuing with NASDAQ, our consultant, who, when we originally decided to work with them, they made it clear that were we unable to hire a superintendent as part of this search, that the contract would continue with them, and the only additional cost would be the cost of advertising. So certainly it's our intention to do that, to rely as much as we can on the excellent work that has been done by NASDAQ, by all of the members of the public who participated in the input, the development of the candidate profile, and most importantly, the screening committee. So we hope to rely as much as possible on the folks, should they be willing, to continue to serve in that capacity, and on the work that was done previously. So I think I will make a motion to seal the minutes of the non-public session only with respect to, names of potential candidates and other similar information that may have been discussed. So is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
I think I saw Danielle. And the time is 8:52. Any discussion on or questions? Again, sorry if I'm not making a lot of sense. It's getting a little bit late. But did anyone have anything to add with respect to the motion to partially seal the minutes? So seeing none, I will call the roll. And again, the motion is to seal the minutes of the non-public session with respect to any identifying information that may have been discussed about particular possible candidates. Ms. Cannon?
Aye.
Mr. Croto? Mr. Croto? I'm not hearing Mr. Croto.
I am here and I say aye. I
Okay.
dropped off for a second there. Came back.
Mr. Croto. Mr. Crush, I believe, is not here. Ms. Higgins?
Aye.
Mr. Parker?
Aye.
Ms. Poinier?
Aye.
Mr. Richards is not here. Ms. Smith?
Aye.
And Ms. Patterson votes aye. So that was a vote 7-0 to seal the minutes of the non-public session with respect to any identifying information about, particular possible candidates. And now I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Barb. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Gina. And all in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
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 All right.
Good night.
We're adjourned. Good night, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Josh.